Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening. First off, commencing on the very auspicious moment, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Yusril Ehza Mahendra, the representative from the citizens, Mr. Mohammad Izzamuddin, the president of Artists Associations of Malaysia, and Mr. Alexender Anderson, executive director Malaysia Employee Federation, to spend your time with me, Mohammad Iman, your Minister of Economy, to discuss about the situation going on with the pandemic of COVID-19. The cases of COVID-19 has been reported around the world to have more than 2.16 million until 17 April recently. Due to this contagious disease, the number of cases is growing up, and the government have to stop all activities that involve gatherings of public and implemented movement control order or MCO, and these will affect the economic growth and lead to insufficient income source for the public. With that, we should take initiative to recover back our economy and help the citizens. One of the initiatives that was mentioned by our Prime Minister is by implementing Prihatin Economic Stimulus Package or ESP. The purpose of our meeting today is to discuss about this issue on the source of family income during MCO in Malaysia. Before that, our president of Artists Association of Malaysia, Mr. Izzamuddin, said that he is not agree with the implementations of Prihatin ESP. Can you tell us more about that?
Thank you, Mr. Aidiel. Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to point out my opinion on this thing. Due to the prolonged COVID-19 crisis, many artists said they are also affected financially. One of the problems they face is the lack of job offers. In this way, they will lose their main source of income. Movement is also restricted to go everywhere due to the movement control order MCO. If they have to go out and buy daily needs, do they have enough money if this MCO period is extended? This is because the artist salary exceed the eligibility to receive help. Hence, I believe that the government should be considerate to give a specific help for these entertainers and not just patronize the group B40 and M40 only. How about your opinion from this situation, Mr. Yusril?
Thank you, Mr. Izam. I think our government can't wait to hear all the problem from the Malaysian. But for now, I think this is the best solution for the government to provide ESP to help Malaysians who are losing their source of income due to movement control issue because of COVID-19. However, in my opinion, some artists in our country can also be categorized as B40 and M40.
I can agree with Mr. Yusril point there. From Executive Director of Malaysian Employers Federation point of view, which is me, the employers claim that RM 250 billion economic stimulus package lack clear-cut incentive for the businesses to retain their staff and continue their operations. Industry were presently facing a catastrophic situation that will risk the continuity or viability of their business. Example, significant slash in revenue suffered by Mars, Malindo, and AirAsia. How are these companies expected to maintain their staff? When talking about Malaysia Airlines, they have tens of thousands of employees. Besides, employers are not allowed to retrench or give unpaid leave. Under MCO, employees are required to pay a full payment throughout this period, which is very unfair to us. How are they going to find money as the companies might not be able to boost their business as business was slow globally? Besides, NCO had led to zero business for retailers, although employers still had to bear operation costs such as rent and payment to supplier.
Sorry to interrupt. For me, the allocation of 250 billion ringgit by the government in Prihatin Economic Stimulus Package (ESP) should also take into account employers who have owned a large company with high employment value. This is because employers are struggling financially, where our industry cannot continue to operate as usual, but employers have to pay employees with very high salary. It doesn't matter to me if the government invests less in the industry because it will also help the people under it who need help. With this assistance, it will also ensure the Malaysian remain unemployed after the period of movement control is over.
Honestly, it is still uncertain whether or not the ESP will be benefit for all Malaysians. But if we take a look from history, back then during 1997 to 1999, Malaysia was really affected by Asian financial crisis during those years. So in order to offset the decline in aggregate demand because of the significant decline exports of Malaysia, our country started off by applying the Keynesian theory to recover the economy, which by giving the fiscal stimulus packages or EPS. Some of the aspects of EPS were ensuring citizens' well-being, developing quality human capital, easing the burden of citizens, and assisting the private sector in dealing with crises. So consequently, Malaysia was able to maintain a positive economic growth rate. Again, I believe that the method used by our current Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, to save the economy right now, which is Prihatin ESP, is quite similar with applications of Keynesian theory. So what do you think about it, Mr. Izzamuddin?
When you said that, I think you made some point there by having ESP to be implemented for the citizens. However, I still stand with my point about artists should be given specific help from ESP. But maybe after we go through some discussion and negotiation, I might change my decision with implementation of pre-Hatin ESP.
There is no problem with that, Mr. Izam. So with all the problems you all have mentioned earlier, I would like to ask if you have any solutions or recommendations to solve this issue.
From reviewing Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's Prihatin economic stimulus package, I'm still trying to make a firm decision to represent entertainment. I want to emphasize that entertainers also need help if they need it most.
So may I know why do you stick with your point that the entertainers still need to be helped?
Sure, why not? For me, the government needs to make questionnaire related to the arts, as many of them need help as well as others. This is because their main income comes from job offers. If there is no government assistance, who else should help them? This is the responsibility of the government as they are entrusted with the welfare of the people of this country. How about you, Mr. Yusril?
In my opinion, a suggestion to reviewing the issue existent to artists is necessary because they are also the Malaysian people who deserve the financial assistance. But it should be the same amount as the citizen and not to be specific help that needs to be given to the artist. Just follow the help given to citizen. This assistance should be given priority to veteran artists and artists who have serious health problems who are unable to work. For young artists, for me, it is not it it is not necessary to provide this assistance. This is because they still have high job opportunities and there are some artists who come down the field to help other people who does in need.
Yes, it is true, Mr. Yusril. Like you stated earlier, we can see that there are still celebrities and social influencers who manage to help the underprivileged people in terms of basic needs like food. So, and regarding to Mr. Izam's point, our government now have this system where it helps to check the income level of these people, like the one Malaysia did with the former One Malaysia People's Aid, or we call it as BRIM. And as we know, the allocations of 25 billion ringgit for direct fiscal injection is to help to uplift the burden of citizens and the business. So by doing so, the distributions of the help would be fair among Malaysians and no discriminations to those who are in need.
All right, I agree with the suggestion given by Mr. Yusres and Mr. Aidiel that as little helps can help people fairly without discrimination to those in need. So, what about you, Mr. Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Izam. Um, we are committed to find solution. We hope that the RM 600 wage subsidy introduced by the government should have been extended to all employees, regardless of their wage level, and should be an automatic subsidy without the need for the companies to prove the 50% drop in revenue. Besides, I believe that the government should exempt a complete exemption from the contribution to the Employees Provident Fund or EPF, SOPSO, as well as servicing bank loans for 9 months for the employers. Besides, the government should emulate what is done in the United Kingdom, where the government pays 80% of a worker's salary. I emphasize government should assist both people and employers by using the National Reserve to boost the economy.
According to Mr. Alexender, I agree with the point that the 600 ringgit wage subsidy should be given to all employees regardless of their salary level. This is because it can help the employer to facilitate the payment of workers' wages, but for me, the government needs to tighten the rules for companies that have this kind of support, where they cannot terminate workers for 6 months after the expire of their movement control in Malaysia. This is ensure that the community continues to have job opportunities. As for the proposal for a complete exemption from the Employees Provident Fund (EPF), I disagree with that proposal since companies only pay a few percent of their employees' salaries. But if it is all to be stopped at the order of government, we the citizen will agree to the proposal. Lastly, I agree with Mr. Alexander's proposal whereby the government should help employers pay less of workers. This is aimed at lightening employers' burden.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Yusril. I believe if the government willing on exemption of EPF, we will ensure business viability and continuity and keeping jobs in the next 6 months or 1 year. I believe requiring employers to pay full wages and allowance, which is EPF, during the MCO period, saying it was a heavy burden to bear under current economic conditions. Without this implementation, I believe the forecast by Malaysian Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, or we call as MIER, that 2.4 million employees in Malaysia will lose their jobs may become a reality. This is because the industries will take 6 months to a year to recover.
Before we end this negotiation, I want to ask to Mr. Aidiel, how does the government safeguard the welfare of the homeless in Malaysia during the movement control order? Mr. Aidiel, can you answer my question?
No big deal, Mr. Yusril. I believe our government is trying our best to take care of the welfare of the homeless people. For example, today, these homeless people are safely placed in a community hall. I also hope that they will make full use of the unused camp National Service Training Program, or we call it as Camp PLKN, to place these homeless people even after MCO has ended, rather than letting them staying on the streets again. So basically, we have discussed and pointed out a lot of issues regarding to economy of our country during pandemic in this meeting. I think we all have come to a conclusion that Prihatin economic stimulus package is a good alternative made by the government to help the citizens in order to overcome the issue on the source of family income during MCO. So before I end our meeting today, I would like to quote the words from our Director General of Health, Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham. He said that it's better for us to be over-prepared than under-prepared. It is war that we cannot lose. Losing is not an option. So with that, thank you everyone for your time and commitment.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. Aidiel.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.